Habibi gang. Let's rewind to that 80th minute at Craven Cottage. Picture this. The game's been a bit of a snooze fest.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, Lisandro Martínez, not exactly known for his goal scoring, finds himself with a loose ball just outside the box.
Right.
Takes a swing. The ball deflects off Lukic in this crazy loop and dips right into the top corner.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could see the Fulham keeper's soul leave his body.
It was one of those goals where you just think, how did that go in?
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that goal is that it kind of perfectly encapsulates how Manchester United has been getting results on the road, especially against the big teams.
Okay.
They're not dominating possession, they're not creating tons of chances, but they're organized, they're resilient, and they've got that Amarim tactical sauce.
Come on, tactical sauce. I get the organized bit. I mean, they only had 4 shots all game, and Martinez's wonder strike was their only one on target. But is this absorbed pressure, hit on a counter strategy actually sustainable? It's not exactly the Manchester United of old, is it?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can they consistently pull off these smash-and-grab wins?
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, Fulham had their chances to equalize that Anderson header in the 89th minute, the one that Collier cleared off the line.
Oh, man.
My heart skipped a beat.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and let's not forget Diallo's disallowed goal in stoppage time.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about a roller coaster of emotions. The man thought he'd save the day, but VAR had other plans.
Razor-thin offside call, by the way.
Yeah, those VAR calls are something else.
Yeah.
But it's those tiny margins, those moments of luck that can swing an entire game.
Right.
And Fulham will be feeling hard done by Muniz blasting his shot over the bar, Diallo straying offside again.
Yeah.
It felt like they were cursed.
Okay, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Martinez's tackle on Traoré that looked nasty, and plenty of people are saying it was a straight red.
Yeah.
What's your take? It was definitely a talking point. I mean, the contact was undeniable, but PG Moel claims it didn't meet the red card threshold. I think what makes it even more controversial is the history between these two.
You're talking about the whole Jim comment from Martinez earlier this season and Traore's promise of a rematch.
Exactly.
So suddenly this tackle isn't just about a bad challenge. It's a whole subplot.
Exactly. It adds this personal rivalry element, the psychological layer, which makes the incident even more fascinating.
Speaking of fascinating, let's talk about Højlund. The big money. Signing the supposed savior of Manchester United's attack.
Right.
He had a rough day at the office, didn't he?
He really struggled to make an impact. His first touch was off, he couldn't hold the ball up, and Anderson seemed to have him in his back pocket.
Yeah.
It raises some serious questions about his suitability as a lone striker in this system.
Yeah, and let's rewind to the first half for a sec. Besides that early burst from Garnacho, where he skinned Wilson and set up Mazraoui for a cross that was eventually cleared.
Right.
There wasn't much going forward for United.
Well, Fulham, on the other hand, started quite brightly. Iwobi was electric down the left, forcing Onana into a couple of sharp saves.
Yeah.
Jimenez also had a few moments where he looked like he might unlock the United defense.
It felt like Fulham were going to take control of the game, but then it just kind of fizzled out, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The first half had some moments of promise, but ultimately descended into a real midfield slog.
Right.
Neither team seemed willing to take too many risks.
And then we had the second half subs. Xerxes came on for Højlund, who, as we discussed, was having a nightmare, and Traoré replaced the injured Wilson. Did these changes make any difference?
Honestly, I don't think they really shifted the momentum. It felt more like both managers were trying to shore things up defensively rather than chase the game.
Yeah.
It was a cagey affair, to say the least.
So we've got this tactical chess match. Both managers are afraid to blink, and then bam, that Martinez goal changes everything. Do you think this was a turning point for Manchester United or just another lucky escape?
It's hard to say for sure, but there's something to be said for grinding out results even when you're not playing your best football. You know, it can build confidence, create a siege mentality.
Right.
Maybe this is the spark United needed.
But let's be real. Fulham could have easily walked away with a point, maybe even all 3.
Yeah.
That goal line clearance, those missed chances.
Yeah.
It felt like they were playing against 12 men at times.
Absolutely. This wasn't a vintage United performance by any stretch. But they defended resolutely, they rode their luck, and they took their chance when it came.
Right.
That's what good teams do.
Okay, let's zoom in on some of the individual performances. We've talked about Højlund's struggles, but what about the rest of the lads?
Yeah.
Who stood out for you?
Well, defensively, I thought Martinez was immense. Forget the controversial tackle for a second. He was putting out fires all over the pitch. Vital interceptions, clearances, and of course that game-winning goal. He seems to thrive in these high-pressure situations.
He certainly wasn't afraid to get stuck. You could feel the intensity every time he and Traoré came together. Yeah. It was like a personal duel within the bigger game.
And speaking of duels, Onana had a relatively quiet night in goal, but he made a couple of crucial saves early on.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, his personality is always box office.
That sprint up the wing to give Fernandes some free kick advice. Pure Onana.
Yeah.
The man just can't help but be involved, can he?
Right.
Do you think that kind of energy is infectious, or is it a distraction for the rest of the team?
It's an interesting question. Some players might find it annoying, but I think most would appreciate his passion and commitment.
Yeah.
He's a leader, even if it's in an unconventional way.
Now, on the Fulham side, Iwobi was a constant menace in that first half.
Yeah.
He was giving Dalot nightmares with his pace and trickery.
He was definitely Fulham's brightest spark, cutting inside, creating chances, forcing Onana into action. It's a shame they couldn't capitalize on his good work.
And Jimenez had a few moments where he looked dangerous, but he couldn't quite find the finishing touch.
Right.
Do you think he needs more support up front, or is he just not clinical enough at this level?
It's probably a bit of both. He's a quality player, but he can't do it all on his own. Fulham need to find a way to get him more involved if they want to start turning these good performances into results.
And what about the substitutes, Muniz and Diallo?
Yeah.
They had their chances to be the heroes, but it just wasn't their night.
Muniz will be replaying that missed shot over and over in his head.
Yeah.
And Diallo he'll be haunted by that offside flag for a while. It's those fine margins that can make all the difference.
So, Habibi gang, we've dissected the match, analyzed the key moments, and debated the performances.
Right.
Now we need to ask the big question. What does this result mean in the grand scheme of things? For United, is this a sign that Amorim's system, that pragmatic counter-attacking approach is finally starting to click? Or are they just getting lucky against the big boys?
Well, it's a tough one to call. They've now taken points off Liverpool, Arsenal, and City all away from home.
Right.
That's not just luck. There's a clear tactical plan, and the players seem to be buying into it.
But it's a world away from the free-flowing attacking football that United fans are used to.
Right.
Can they keep grinding out these 1-0 wins? At some point, you'd think they need to start dominating games, scoring more goals.
Well, that's the challenge for Amorim, isn't it?
Yeah.
To find that balance between defensive solidity and attacking flair. Can they control games, create more chances while still being tough to break down?
And the real test will come against those teams who sit back, defend deep, and try to frustrate them.
Yeah.
Can United break down a stubborn defense? Can they find a way to win when they're not given all that space to counterattack?
Those are the questions that will determine whether this season is a success or a failure for Manchester United. They've shown they can compete with the best, but can they consistently perform against the rest?
But now we want to hear from you. Was this a sign of things to come for Manchester United, or just a blip on the radar?
Right.
Hit that subscribe button and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, Habibi gang.